welcome back to Ever17 out of Infinity. We turned left at the corner and ran. And ran and ran. We have to run. We're gonna drown. The voices of the monster was right on our heels, but we couldn't look back. If we looked back, we felt like we would be swallowed up. Something beyond fear or terror had made our minds go completely blank. We couldn't even think. We could only run desperately for our lives. My shoulder bumped against the wall of the narrow corridor. It looked like my foot would get caught up in the bent metal flooring. Avoiding the pipes that hung down, we leaped over the raised entrance of the water-tight door and ran. We just ran, and on and on. This has got to be a dream. For an instant, that thought crowded across my mind. In a world without people, and faded colors. A drooling monster was reaching its bluish-white arms out toward my neck. We were spit out with the mass of water into a sprawling room. We were turned head over heel in the violent water. That is pretty descriptive. But several times, maybe several dozen times, over and over again, until finally my body stopped moving. Ouch. Ow. I peeled my body from the soaked floor. Water was still pouring in from the far side of the ocean emergency entrance. Water was flowing down like a waterfall and spreading smoothly toward the far corridor as if it were crawling across the floor. That's right. What about you? Just as I thought that and looked back, Yu was standing up. You okay? You, are you okay? I shook the soaked Yu's shoulders and looked into her eyes. They were empty. Her purplish blue lips were quivering. Yu was completely dazed. You, hang on! The level of water had continued to rise during a short time. What should I do? What should I? Just then it happened. The watertight doors at the four sides of the room began to close at once. The doors were closing, ever so slowly, letting off a dull sound. You! I tried shouting and even shaking her harder, but there was no response. Rather, Yu's body went limp and she collapsed to the floor. Hey, quit goofing around! Come on! I took Yu's arm and put it over my shoulder, lifting her up. I started walking toward the nearest watertight door. Yu was heavy like a stone. Water pooled around both my legs, and I couldn't move forward as fast as I wanted. Gradually, a steel partition slid down from above. Another one came up from below, pushing away water as it moved. The stopped up water swirled around. As the width between the doors narrowed, the water level deepened. Come on, make it in time! Please just make it in time! Sadly, the door didn't stop moving. There was only a small opening left for us to escape. Whoa! There's no way I'm going to die here! Giving a shout, I ran, pushing the water out of the way. Yu's slumping body weighed heavily on my shoulder, but I couldn't let go of her arm. I pulled together all my power. Almost there! Almost. Right there! With one hand, I grabbed hold of the edge of the... Just barely. Just a few seconds after I squeezed our bodies through that narrow gap, the watertight door closed completely. We placed our backs against the closed door and collapsed. There was almost no sense of relief. Both of my legs were shaking, and my heart was beating like it would explode. We spent a few moments there in a stupor. The next thing I knew, the seawater had mostly disappeared from the floor. That's not to say that it was completely dry. It was still wet, in my body and Yu's body. We were still soaked. Are you alright? You were really out of it until just a second ago. You were. You were out of it. You stood up and took her wet hair in hand, wiping away the water droplets around her eyes with the palm of her hand. We got swept into the next corridor over, and then all of a sudden the watertight doors started to close, but you were all spacey, and to make things worse, you fainted. I got us out. Yup. What? You don't believe me? I guess not. What? What's that supposed to mean? You bowed her head slightly. Do you really mean it?
思ってるよ。多分。
You guess?
だから冗談だってば。すぐ真に受けちゃうんだから。この純情少年ね。
Oh, whatever. Well, I suppose I owed you one anyway.
仮？
When I collapsed at the shop, you helped me, right? So now we're even. When I said that, Yu's face lit up in a smile. Anyway, enough of that. Let's hurry up and find an exit.
そうだね。またどこで浸水が始まるかわかんないし。
Yu was checking the ceiling and walls as she started walking. I followed along behind her. We cut across the wide room, heading for the exit. There was a big, empty, mechanical merry-go-round, without music or the voices of children playing. Only its bright lights glowed in a lonely sort of way.
ねえ、そういえばまだ名前聞いてなかったよね。
Huh?
名前、君の名前。
Oh, yeah, that. My name is Takeshi. No, and I didn't know. No, you did forget. Oh, I didn't know my name. Oh, my name. There's no way. It couldn't be. I should know it. It's my name, my very own name. Name. Then all of a sudden, a shock shot through my whole body. My head hurt. It seemed like it would spit right open. Split. Eh. I held my head in both arms and crumpled forward. Grinding my teeth, I desperately tried to endure the pain. Darkness blanketed my eyes. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't hear anything. The darkness invaded my brain and glommed together. It was a glob that would devour my brain and dissolve it into mush. I didn't know. I didn't know my name. Who could I possibly be? The next thing I knew, I was on a bed. The ceiling was so white, it was slightly blinding. It smelled of disinfectant. A shadow passed above me on the bed. You looked at me as if she were worried. This is... the beginning? The infirmary, huh? Sorry. Name. That's right, my name. You said it very carefully. So we need to get our memory back now. Sure. Today is the May 1st, right? Age? I tried hard to pull together the threads of my memory, my age, my birthday. When I started to think about it, my temples began to throb. But that didn't mean I could just stop thinking about it. I endured the headache as I felt like I wandered lost through a forest. There had to be an exit hidden somewhere. I just didn't know where.
OK 分かった。君は自分の名前も年齢も生年月日も覚えてないのね。住所や電話番号はどう？じゃなかったら家族のこととか友達のこととか何でもいいんだけど。やっぱり思い出せない？
It was just like you said. I didn't have any memories of anything. A sense of something not being right gnawed at my mind. No, it was something closer to a sense of loss. I felt that I had lost the bulk of my existence, like someone had stolen me away, and the me that was left was a whole empty shell. Okay, empty shell. Just empty shell. The me that was here. Who knew if it was even the real me? The instant that thought went through my mind, I was frozen by an icy wave of unease. Scared, isolated, lonely. You. I grabbed firmly onto Yu's hand. Her warm palm. That warmth was the only thing saving me. She shot me a smile as she squeezed my hand back. Amnesia?
記憶がないんだから記憶喪失でしょ？当たり前だけど原因は何だろうな。気圧障害の関係かどこかで頭を打っちゃったのかそれとも何か精神的な強いショックを受けたのかもしれない。例えば過激なアトラクションに乗って頭がパニクっちゃったとかさ。
Okay.
心配しないで。きっと一時的なものだからすぐに記憶は戻るはず。
Think so?
そうだよ。大事故にでもあって脳に致命的な損傷を受けたとかだったら別だけどね。どうもそんな感じでもなさそうだし。
You put her hand on my hair and gave me a smile so bright I almost need sunglasses. That smile flooded in my heart, wiping away the remains of the unease that was swirling there.
さあ、そろそろ行こうか。このまま子守歌でも歌って、君を寝かしつけてあげてもいいんだけど、残念ながらそんなのんびりとしてられる状況じゃないのよね。わかるでしょ？I
understand. You understand. You. I nodded and got off of the bed. You started walking for the door. My eyes stopped on the bluish ribbon on Yu's back. The ribbon seemed to have taken on water and glittered brightly like the wings of a newborn fairy. You said that after trying to move the door with her weight several times. These were the emergency stairs. Or more accurately, it was the passage on the way there. The emergency stairs would spiral like around a fat pipe. If we followed these stairs, they would take us to this floating island. Yeah, at least in theory. But now right in front of us stood a thick steel wall. The wall had a small, watertight door, and if we couldn't squeeze through that, then we couldn't make our way any higher. This isn't the floating island yet, is it?
当たり前でしょ。それどころかエルストボーデンだってまだまだ先なんだから。
Erstboden, was that the basement floor one? You nodded. What does that mean in terms of depth? How deep is it?
そうね。スバイトストックが34メートルだから30メートル前後ってとこかな。まだ4、5メートルくらいしか登ってきてないもんこの階段。
90 feet deep. 90 feet sounded so close, but in any event, if the door didn't open up, then that was it. Hey, I wonder why it won't open.
さあね。呪文でも必要なんじゃない？
Spell? You mean like open sesame? That kind of spell?
そうやって真に受ける。
Well, what then?
教えてほしい？
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to know. We're kind of in trouble here. Yes. Ask.
そうね。教えてあげよ
Did you just say ask to her?
う。みんないきなり水密費が閉まり始めたってそう言ったよね。
Yeah.
つまりあの扉は自動閉鎖されたんだ。
Closed automatically?
浸水を感知したレミが危険なエリアの水密費を自動的に閉めちゃったってこと。
What's
このレミ
LeMU?
ュ内のすべての電子的システムを統括管理しているメインコンピューター、その略称みたいなもんね。
So what?
だからね、きっとこれも
Clang, clang. You knocked on the steel door with your lightly closed fist.
レミに据えられちゃったんだと思うの。
I see. So in other words, the other side of this door is flooded with water. She had been right. It really wasn't something I had wanted to hear. If the door was simply locked, all we had to do was find a way to open it, and we could climb up to freedom. But if the other side was full of seawater, then thinking beyond that was no fun. So what do we do now?
他の非常階段を片っ端から調べてみる。それしかないでしょ。
You said it with a sigh and started heading down the stairs. After that, we tried 2 emergency sets of stairs in the area, but both were a waste of effort. They were shut off by thick partitions. It was impossible to climb the safe stock. According to Kaderi, there were a total of 12 emergency stairs in LeMU. Yeah. 3 of those were closed off, so that left 9. You and I walked around emergency corridors searching for those stairs, but we met with a dead end. And a dead end. And a dead end. The watertight doors were completely shut, and there was no way we were getting them open manually. We gave up and headed out into the normal corridors to see if we could work our way around using them. And still, we met with a dead end. And a dead end. And a dead end. Okay, that's 6, right? Inside the sprawling LeMU complex, there was a web of several dozen corridors. We investigated each, only finding closed doors everywhere. It seemed hopeless. Beyond the normal corridors and the emergency corridors were sealed. All were blocked off. The only thing left for us to try was...
トリットストック。下のフロアに降りてみるしかなさそうね。
With the elevators out of action, the emergency stairs were our only choice. Thankfully, 1/3 of the remaining 3 stairways were still operating, which meant that even if there was no going up, we could still go down. You and I wound around and around the spiral stairwell until we reached its stock, 3 floors underwater. Water. I muttered this without thinking when we reached the floor. As far as I could see, the floor was a sheet of water that had flooded in. It was about up to my ankles. There's water flooding in from somewhere else.
違うと思う。水が流れてないでしょ。
Now that you mention it, there was not even a ripple on the water's surface. There was no evidence that the water level was increasing. I looked around to be sure, but there weren't any signs water was leaking from anywhere. Well then, what is this?
さっきの私たちが巻き込まれた浸水のせいよ。スバイトストックに溜まった海水がこのフロアに流れ込んだんじゃないかな。非常階段とか通気口とか、とにかくどこかの経路をたどってここまで流れ落ちてきたんだと思う。ほら、昔から言うでしょ。水は高きから低きへって。
We entered the room from a door along the corridor. The room's massive ancient remains were steeped in water, making it seem just like the seafloor had risen up. As you and I looked around the wide room, our legs splashed water all over. Our drenched clothes were trying so we didn't really feel the cold. The water on the floor was not as cold as I had expected, but somehow walking in the water in the shoes was, well, unpleasant. Finally, when we turned into a corridor, we heard an unexpected sound.
ねえ、今なんか聞こえなかった？
We stopped and listened. Somebody was hitting something. Somewhere nearby. There are other people here.
取り残された人がいるんだ。
We ran at full speed in the direction of the sound.
おーい、誰
Two girls' voices could be heard from within the elevator. You and I looked at each other and nodded.
ちょっと待ってて。今開けてあげるからね。うわー、よかった。このまま誰も来てくれないのかと思って心配してたんです。
That voice, or their voice from inside sounded well. It didn't sound injured or weak.
って言ってもどうやって開ければいいんだろう。
You placed both of her hands on the door and pushed left and right.
ああ、もうなんで今日はこんな目にばっか会うのよ。
Won't it open?
そんなの見ればわかるでしょ。ほら、ちょっと変わってってば。
I switched places with you and reached out to try to open the door. Ugh. It didn't budge.
ほらほら、もっと気合い入れて。
I tried to put my fingers in the crack in the door, but my fingernails just barely squeezed in and there was nothing happening there. Ow. Blood started oozing from the nail of my index finger. Oh no. But it was the digit next to that caught my eye. The thumb on my left hand. Careful. I noticed a distinct mark on it. On the meaty part of the thumb was a deep scar about half-inch long. I wondered if I had had it for long. The mouth of the cut was swollen and milky white colored. Her question brought me back to reality.
血が出てるじゃない。ちょっと貸して。
You grabbed my left hand. I suddenly bent my thumb under, hiding the scar. For some reason, I didn't want her to see it. You took an adhesive bandage from her pocket and put it on the bloody finger.
世話の焼ける子ね。
Thanks. Hey, thanks. It's a good thing she had a bandage, but the finger smelled faintly sweet.
それからもっと世話の焼ける子がもう一人。
What should we do?
あ、そうだ。
You muttered. She searched around in her pocket for something, and she took out a...
チュワーチュワチュワーチュワチョチョチョピーン。サインペン。
It was just felt tip pen.
これをね、こうしてね、こうしてね、グリグリっとグリグリっとすれば。
As he said this, you screwed the capped end into the space between the doors. A gap appeared.
ほらね。
I jabbed my finger into the open space gap and started forcing the door open. The box inside, the part where people arrived, was stuck before arriving at Drit's dock. Above the door, jutting out some 20 inches or so, was the lower bit of the elevator box. It was at a height where if I stretched my hand out completely, it would just reach. If we could get the box open, then it seemed possible to pull the people trapped inside over to our side.
肩車。
Use one word said it all. As she implied, I stood in front of her and spread my legs, bracing myself.
どうして私が持ち上げなきゃなんないのよ。
Huh?
逆よ逆。こういう時は普通力のある方が下になるでしょ。
I went around behind you, wordlessly squatting down. You was wearing a skirt after all. One reason I tried to be on top was I thought I would save her for the embarrassment. As I was thinking that, you straddled my head with her legs. I put both my hands on my knees, supporting myself, and stood up all at once. Her soft thighs hugged against my head. She was flushed against the back of my neck. It was a bit nice.
待ってて、もうすぐだから。お願いします。
You took the marker and started prying it between the doors again. She stuck her finger in the gap. And then she opened the door with a flourish.
チース。
Oh, with you on my shoulders, I looked up. The girl in a uniform was peeking down.
あ、
Ah. I don't know why, but all three of us exclaimed at once. Just then, I felt something like an electric shock run through me. Severe lights went off in my mind, and I heard the sound of something stopping. I was suddenly dizzy. That was a stopping, right? Snapping. Oh. I lost my sense of balance and swayed forward. And back. The vision and consciousness were overrun by white. I couldn't take any more. I fell to the floor like a marionette with its strings snipped.
痛いな。もう。なんで倒れちゃうのよ。危ないでしょ。たく、 だらしないな、近頃の若いもんは。
Things began to fall back into focus. I was lying on my back looking at the ceiling. The lights were shining down brightly. The girls were pointing at me and laughing. Their innocent faces were enveloped in celestial-like light, just like a couple of angels staring down from heaven. I didn't know why. It was a bizarre sense of something like deja vu that came welling up in my mind. I felt like I had seen this all before. The angelic smiling faces somehow made me feel nostalgic, like it was a fragment of some familiar everyday scenery. I couldn't explain it, but somehow I had that vague sense about things. Oh, they don't know because they've been stuck in the elevator. As I was about to answer, the girl cut me off. The girl said this as she descended from the elevator, putting her clothes back into place. Kidat? What is Kidat? Well, what are you doing here? The girl's name was Maya. Okay. I guess this is what's going on with them. While the two of them were talking, I decided to take a peek at the elevator that Maya was stuck in. I got onto the the elephants. I got up to the entrance of the box and used my to pull myself up. It was empty inside. I thought I heard two girls inside. I wonder if my mind was playing tricks on me. I let go of the elevator and dropped to the floor. You asked me this when I returned to the ground. I don't know. I guess so. Well, before, didn't you hear two voices? You shot the question right back at me and then looked back at Mayo. There were two. I see. Okay, that's weird. I guess it was just my mind playing tricks on me. Mayo would glance at me from time to time, but when her eyes met, she looked away. There's something a little off about Mayo's greeting. Nice to meet you too. But then again, my words were pretty stiff as well. Sarah, so why Mayo? Oh, that's funny. I see. I said that, but I still didn't really get it. I had the feeling a simple salad dressing was better suited to tuna salad. Well, whatever. It wasn't important. Name.
君の名前
My name is...
思い出せないんだってさ。は？記憶喪失なの彼。記憶喪失？そうなの？
Yes.
へえ、すごいじゃん。
Wow.
なんかちょっとかっこよくない？記憶喪失って。影のある男的な匂いがするもん。ほら、例えばさ、闇の組織に追われてる暗殺者みたいな。
Really? You think I'm cool? I wouldn't kill anybody.
だから何言ってんなっつうの。記憶喪失か。本当にあるんだね、そういうの。
Sarah kept staring at me as if I were something exotic, like I were an angel, replete with a set of wings on my back, and the divine nostalgic feeling from before had vanished like an illusion. The three of us aimed for an exit. It goes without saying, but Sarah couldn't hide her surprise at the transformation the complex had undergone.
なんでどこもかしこも水浸しなの？それどころか誰もいないみたいだけど。
While we walked, you brought Sarah up to speed with the situation while walking next to her. She told her that you herself was working at LeMU, how I had collapsed in by the kiosk, how after falling down I was hauled to the infirmary. After finishing the story, you went on.
そしたらね、突然警報が鳴り響いて。
Alarm?
あれ？まだ君には話してなかったっけ？君が意識を失ってる間に緊急避難警報みたいなやつがアナウンスされたのね。原因はわからないけど、とにかく皆さん逃げてくださいって感じの、そんな内容だったと思う。マヨは知ってるよね？はい。いきなりエレベーターが止まって中に閉じ込められちゃって、そのすぐ後だったかな、警報が聞こえたのは。でね、その時救護室には私の他に3人の専属スタッフがいたんだけど、その3人は外の様子を見てくるって言って出て行ったきり、待てど暮らせど戻ってこなかったの。部屋に残されたのは私と君の2人だけ。
Oh.
さすがに君一人を置き去りにするわけにはいかなかったし、それにね、その時私実はあんまり心配してなかったんだ。きっと子供かなんかがいたずらして非常ベルを押しちゃったんだろうって、そのぐらいにしか思ってなかったの。いくらなんでも子供のいたずらで緊急避難警報は発令されないと思いますけど。今考えれば確かにそう思うけど、でもその時の私はなんていうか、この少年のことで頭がいっぱいだったのよ。
You were worried about me?
うん、まあね。で、それからどうしたんですか？
Everything after that was old news to me. The closing of the watertight doors, on our search for the emergency stairs to the floating island, and of course, you also told Sarah about how we got washed away by floodwater. After that, you and Sarah did a complete check of Dritstock's corridors, but we met with a dead end. And a dead end. And a dead end. Oh, so is that on 9 and a dead end? And a dead end. And a dead end. After dead end. After. And the final piece that we ended up. Place that we ended up was in front of a small door at the end of a big, narrow corridor. In the middle of the word Himmel was engraved. What is this? Saying that, you took hold of the doorknob. It didn't open. It didn't even budge. Next, she started tapping randomly on the 10 key display next to the door. You should have known that it was a waste of energy. You punctuated this with a sigh.
それじゃあ私たち、
Yes, she did.
閉じ込められちゃったみたいね。
You weakly kicked the door. Following the sound, we went silent. The atmosphere around us was heavy. Both you and Sara wore tired expressions as if they couldn't, even be bothered to speak anymore. Okay, it was a gloomy silence. To try to lighten things up, I said, "Hey, anyway, it doesn't do us any good to just stand around here. We've got to think of something.
方法？
A way to escape.
何か明暗でも？
Well, let's see. How about try to contact the outside, look for other exits. Have we got all the other exits? For example, you could look for other exits or something? Anything else?
君分かってる？ここは海の中なんだよ。
I know, I'm not saying anything. We try to escape a window or anything. Yeah, nothing like that. If this is the middle of the ocean, then there must be a duct for outside air, so...
なるほど。その換気用のダクトを伝って脱出しようってわけね。よく映画でやってるみたいに。
Yeah, that's what I mean.
残念だけど、それは無理よ。
Huh? Why not?
外部に通じるダクトは人が通れるような大きさじゃないの。
No way. My shoulders slumped in disappointment. Sarah's face was also covered in dejection.
せめて外にいる友達と連絡が取れたらいいんだけど。外と連絡？でも携帯も通じないんだし。そっか、制御室。なんで今まで気づかなかったんだろう。あそこに行けば、少なくとも浮島にいる誰かとは連絡を取ることができるんだ。
Yu's face lit up again. Okay, well, that's good. Next, light returned to Sarah's eyes as well. Yeah, her eyes, yep, her face, same thing. But... You did a fantastic heel stomp on the console in the control room. It looked like she were going rant. No, she was already ranting. Hey, what are you doing? Going to do with that chair? Still, you don't have to destroy... Sarah and I restrained you and dragged her outside the control room. Yu's eyes were bloodshot like a rabid dog. Somehow our fantasy-like outfit seemed out of place. Well, if it has come to this, there is nothing else to do. Let's just split up again and look for an exit. But we haven't looked inside the rooms. Anyway, let's just look one more time, alright? I hope so. So with that, the three of us, Sarah, you, and I, split up and started searching for an exit. We agreed we'd meet up again in an hour. We decided to meet in front of the control room. I decided to check Drit's stock from end to end. You and Sara were probably investigating upstairs, the rest area. I noticed immediately that the scenery was different from the morning. The pond in the middle was just covered with a lid, or more of a partition of sorts than a lid. In either case, the pond was no longer connected to the ocean. The LeMU computer that you had talked about might have automatically sealed it off. Fried chicken sandwich shop. There was still a slight scent of cooked chicken in the air. The second I smelled it, my stomach started to growl. I glanced around. There was no one there. I thought I might eat, but I didn't want to do anything criminal. I swallowed once and left that area behind. The conference room. There was nothing really out of the ordinary here, but I did pick up on something. On one thing. This room was not flooded with water. The elevated entrance had stopped the water. That darn chicken sandwich stand. The fragrance of food was tickling my nose. The control room. This room was spared flooding by its elevated entrance. The chair that you had knocked over was as she had left it. I put it back where it should be, checked the room, and left. That chicken sandwich stand. The smell just wouldn't quit teasing me. The ruins of Lemuria. You had passed through here just a while before. Just to be sure, I peeked in the shadows of the stone pillars and behind buildings, but couldn't find anything resembling a pathway. The chicken sandwich stand. That smell. Oh, I couldn't take it anymore. I slyly extended my hand toward the case holding the warm chicken sandwiches. The situation called for extreme measures. I kept telling myself that as I munched and swallowed down the sandwich. There's still some sandwiches in that stand. With that, I finished checking dirt stock. Oh, that's good. We have a food supply. I didn't look like there were any hidden quarters to be found or anyone trapped here besides the three of us. I wondered how things were above. Maybe it was just like you had said. Maybe there was no more point in looking. It was still before our meeting time, but I went back to our rendezvous point in front of the control room. And when I got there, there was a surprise thing waiting for me.
Yeah. Konnichiwa.
Ah, huh? Who are you?
Oi, 忘れちまったのか?
Hey, what in the world? They're okay, that's good. I felt like I had met them before. I was pretty sure of it, but... your name is... I couldn't remember it.
いや、自己紹介はまだだったかな。俺はKuranari Takeshi.
This is Takeshi. The guy named Takeshi indicated the girl.
Akanegasaki Sora desu.
Oh, she gave a slight nod. Takeshi and Sora. I repeated the words. They both nodded. But what are you doing here? Huh? What's going on here? So you're stuck here too, huh? Oh, wait a sec. Didn't you just say 3 people? I followed the direction of Yu's finger. Someone was standing on the opposite end of the wall along the corridor. I could only make out half of the person's back, but I saw long hair and black clothes, and it left an impression. Who's that? Tsugumi, so that was her name. She wore all black. It didn't sound familiar, but still. I feel like I've met her somewhere before. No, it's not that. It's probably just my imagination. It's just somehow something... Doesn't like you? I could feel a slight animosity emanating from Tsugumi's back. She didn't have to say anything. There was a definite atmosphere, which made approaching her difficult. Maybe I'll go talk to her. Just as that thought crossed my mind, Tsugumi started glancing in our direction. She had piercing eyes and an intimidating gaze. With her glare eating into me, I couldn't take even one step forward. There was no way I could talk with her. What's that all about? Why is she so angry? I haven't done anything to make her hate me. Tsugumi's gaze returned to normal. Oh, that's okay. Cold beads of sweat appeared on my forehead. Oh, that reminds me, where's Sara? Having realized she wasn't around, I glanced around the room. Without my noticing it, Sara had come to stand behind me at some point. Don't worry. But her expression somehow didn't seem fine. It was probably to be expected, though. All kinds of things had happened, and in the end we hadn't found an exit. Mentally, we were pretty well done in. I thought that I should probably leave her alone for the time being.
ともかくここで立ち話をしていても始まりませんから、この制御室で現在のレミューの状況を調べてみましょう。
Sora said this and pointed to the control room right across from us. Encouraged by Sora, we all shuffled into the room.
どう、ソラ。
Okay, let's try to figure out what to do.
そうですね。
Sora faced the monitor and held up both hands. Instantly, the content of the screen began to change, with a number of windows opening, closing, and searches for data underway. I stared dully at her rapidly moving hands. It looked like Sora was fairly used to handling this computer. For one thing, there weren't any flying chairs or heel stomping. It was completely different from the way you handled things a while ago.
わかりました。
Finally, Sora said this in a matter-of-fact way. Everyone looked at her direction.
皆さん、どうか落ち着いて聞いてください。慌てたり、気を落としたりしないでくださいね。
Saying this, her face seemed pale. All eyes were glued to her in silence.
これから現在のレミューの状況を表示します。まず1回、エルストボーデンは完全に浸水しました。完全に？はい。隔壁も全て下ろされ、通路を通行することはできません。つまり上に行く道は完全に閉ざされちゃったの。そういうことです。そしてこれがツバイトシュトックの状況です。上の階、救護室のあるフロアを示しています。こちらはドリッドシュトック。
Sweat stock, dirt stock.
現在地です。
Control Ventrum?
マジかよ。
そんなレミューの半分近くが水没しちゃってるじゃない。
Sora nodded somberly with a pained expression on her
このフロア
face.
のドライエリアは3つの部分に分かれています。
Dry areas?
完全に浸水していないエリア、人の通行が可能な部分のことです。このマップの中心に表示されているのが現在私たちのいる第8区画です。
Huh, it looks like the map is divided in two areas. So where's the third?
この第8区
Due to flaw in the system, we are unable to call up a detailed map. Sector 4 and above, corner section 8 looks fine.
しかしそこに行くことはできないの？はい、不可能です。
Why?
2つの区画を結んでいる通路が全て水没してしまったからです。距離にしておよそ100メートル。無呼吸状態で100メートル泳ぎ続けるような能力をお持ちになっている方はこの中にはいらっしゃらないでしょう。故に不可能なのです。それにもしも仮に第4区画までたどり着けたとしても事態が好転するようなことはないと思われます。第4区画もここと同じなのです。浮島へ登るための非常階段は全て完全浸水しています。
つまり言っても無駄ってことだな。
そういうことです。
Everyone went quiet. For a while, we just stared at the LeMU map that was floating in the darkness. And then...
ねえ、思ったんだけどさ。
You opened her mouth silently.
レミューには排水ポンプみたいなやつってついてないの？もちろんあります。じゃあそれを使って水没したエリアの水を汲み出せば。それが動かないように。どうして？電気がこうやって生きてるのに。原因はわかりません。エレベーターを含め一部の電子的システムが制御不能に陥っているのです。各区画の配線断線が影響しているのかもしれませんが。
What do we do now?
ちなみにレミュー内の生体反応をチェックしてみたところ、ここにいる人たち以外に取り残された人はいないことが分かりました。
The people here... You, Sara, Sora, Tsugumi, Takeshi, and I. Total of 6 people. Yes. Furthermore,
それから現在の内部圧は1気圧です。
Okay.
糖分の間
Hold on.
酸素濃度 22%、 窒素濃度 75%、 ヘリウム濃度 3%、 気温24度。
Ah, okay. Can I look at this one too? No. You mean the environment is suitable for us to stay here for a while?
申し訳ありません。その通りです。皆さんには今しばらくの間、館内でお待ちいただくことになります。
今しばらく？いつまでだ？
救助が来るまでです。救援要請をずっと送り続けています。しかし現在それが届く保証はありません。インゼルヌルへの通信線は非常幹線も含め物理的遮断によって使用不能です。また海底ケーブルでのネットワーク接続、音波式水中通話ともに試していますが、通信系の回復のめどはまだ立っていません。
つまり俺たちは水中で迷子。 SOS は誰にも聞こえないというわけだ。
はい。
The gravity of the situation was descending on us. There was no reason to be upbeat. Takeshi and you let loose with sighs almost simultaneously. Sara and I slumped our shoulders. That reminds me, what happened to Tsugumi? She hasn't said anything at all. I looked back. Tsugumi was standing in a corner of the room glaring at us. Like before, there was an atmosphere around her that seemed impenetrable. Really, why is she so peeved? A little while later.
だけどな、落ち込んでてもしょうがないさ。ここ
Uh,
はポジティブに、前向きに考えようよ。ねえ、諸君。
you broke the silence with her energetic pep talk, but no one responded.
もうそんな沈み込んだ顔しないでよ。私たちはさ、何も太平洋のど真ん中を漂流してるわけでも、冬の雪山で遭難したわけでもないんだから。
So what?
要するに、私たちはいずれ多分数時間と待たないうちに助けられるでしょってこと。なんでわかるんですか？だってよーく考えてみ。私たちは何の因果か知らないけれど、こんな狭っ苦しい建物の中に閉じ込められてしまった。おまけに外部へ連絡する手段もないときてる。でもね、連絡だったら私たちがするまでもなく他の誰かがしてくれてるはずじゃない。
Like who? Oh, that's right. You mean like her colleagues or Sarah's classmates or teacher? You give a big nod as to say, that's right.
クラナリだって一人で来たわけじゃないんでしょ。
そっか、確かに
That is a possibility, okay.
俺らがここにいるってことは浮島にいる連中もとっくに気づいてるはずなんだ。
そうだから救助隊だか捜索隊だか知らないけど、とにかく誰かがすぐに助けに来てくれると思うの。どう？納得？
Sara, Sora, Takeshi, and I all nodded. Hope returned to everybody's face. Only Tsugumi, only she kept her cold gaze trained on us. We all moved to the conference room together. There was something unnerving about waiting for help in the dimly lit control room, and there weren't that many chairs to start with. I wondered if they were placed in one of the dry areas that everyone could relax. The closest one was the conference room we were at. Hey, Sora, how come you know so much about LeMU? I asked Sora, who was sitting next to me.
私はLeMU開発部のシステムエンジニアをしているのです。一応主任代理ということになっています。
主任代理ね、結構偉いんだ、実は。
代理ですし、名目上のことですから大したことはありません。
でもさ、空って地上のゲートにいなかったっけ？入場の時なんか説明してたろ？俺は半分しか聞いてなかったけど。
はい、そうです。お気づきになりましたか？ここも人手不足なもので
I like her outfit.
あのようなことをしています。
Sora smiled. I wondered what the gate above ground was. It didn't understand what Takeshi and Sora were talking
って
about.
ことは
But for now, I knew the reason why Sora knew so much about LeMU. So that means there are 2 employees from LeMU here then.
何？
ユウのことだよ。
私は職員っていうかただのバイトだけど、クラナリは遊びに来たんだよね。
遊び以外の目的でテーマパークに来るやつなんかいないだろ。なあサラ。
私は一応特使だけど。
あ？特使？
救命館の2年生を対象にして行われるイベントのこと。まあほとんどが遊びみたいなもんだけど。
Huh? Without thinking, I let out a cry. For some reason, something bothered me. Everybody here, you're not all friends,
ま
right?
さかさっき会ったばっかりだよ。
So then why are you talking to Takeshi like you're old friends? And Takeshi is talking to you guys the same way.
ああ、そっか。お前は知らないんだよな。
It's called just being friendly to people. What?
先ほどツバイトシュトックでお会いした時に軽い自己紹介のようなものをしたのです。
Oh, so that's it.
そうなんだよ。
Still, it seems strange how they are all so friendly for having just met. That was what I thought.
っていうかさ、お前の名前は？
Huh?
まだ聞いてなかったよな、確か。
I'm
暗殺者なんだよ彼。
暗殺者？
No.
いるんだってさ。
I'm not being hunted.
だから何言ってんなっつうのにわからんやっちゃな。わかりました。私が代わりにご説明いたしましょう。実は彼、記憶喪失なのです。
記憶？
喪失？
You gave them a brief explanation of my situation. She told them how I'd forgotten my name, address, family, and friends, and that I'd only remembered the date and everything after meeting you. After listening to the explanation, Sora said,
おそらく追走障害の一つ、全般健忘でしょう。全般健忘、全生活史健忘とも言いますが、これは社会的事実についての知識はよく保たれていながら、名前、生い立ち、家族や友人のことなど自分の全生活史にわたる全てを想起できない状態のことを指します。通常は数日から 1,2 ヶ月経てば自然に記憶は回復してくるはずです。あるいは催眠療法や電撃療法という手段も考えられなくはないですが。
Electric shock.
安心してください。繰り返しますが、記憶喪失は通常何もしなくても自然に治るものなのです。従いまして今はひとまずあまり気にしないこと、深く考えないこと、これが最善の治療方法になります。
ほらね、私の言った通りでしょ。心配しなくても大丈夫なんだってば。
ということらしいぞ。
You say it like it's somebody else's problem.
いや、別にそういう意味で言ったのではなく、記憶ってやつはさ、不思議なもんで、別のことを考えてるときに、ふわっと蘇ってきたりするもんだろ。例えば、芸能人とかで顔はわかるのに、
I really could use some help.
思い出せないときとかな。
Yeah, I wonder if that's just the way it works.
ところで、君はどっから記憶を失ってるの？
How far back?
そういや、俺や空の顔は知ってたよな。
それに、私の名前も覚えてた。
How far back? I searched back in time for the edge of my memory. Was there a point where I could still remember and a point where I'd forgotten? Different images floated through my mind as if to provide an answer. That was it. I lost my memory when I fell into the pond at the rest area. That had to be it. I couldn't remember anything before that. And I remembered everything after that. So that tumble into the pond was the line between my memory and non-memory. My consciousness was cut off at that moment. But I think it probably happened when I fell in the pond. I announced this to everyone.
池というのは憩いの間の池のことですか？
I think so.
前のことは全然思い出せないの？
ぼんやりとしたイメージみたいなのとか浮かんでこないのか？
住んでたところの景色とか。
好きな女の子のこととか。
ドラマとかだとさ、記憶はないのに指先は覚えてるなんてこともあるよね。
なるほど。筆を持った途端、いきなり素人離れした芸術的な絵を描き始めたみたいなやつな。
そうそうそう。だから、いろいろと見たり触れたりしてみるっていうのも手かもしれないよ。
そうだな。じゃあまず何をやらしてみようか。
The conversation about me went on around me. My temples were throbbing. My face was distorted with the pain.
ちょっと待った。
Oh, pain. Oh.
今空が言ったばかりでしょ。あまり気にしないこと、深く考えないこと。この少年、思い詰めるととんでもない精神状態に陥っちゃうんだから。とんでもないって？錯乱状態っていうのかな。うーとかはーとかふめき出して突然倒れちゃうの。
そうなんだ。
だから記憶のことに関してはもう少しデリケートに扱ってあげないと。
You gently placed her hands on my head. When she did, it was strange, but it seemed to suck away the pain.
わかった。それじゃあ話題を変えよう。
先ほどから気になっていたのですが。彼のこと、これから何とお呼びすればよいのでしょうか？
そっか、呼び方くらいは決めとかないと何かと不便だもんね。
ゴンベイにするか。適当だけど七種のゴンベイ。
適当だからゴンベイだというのは全国のゴンベイさんに申し訳ないのではないですか？
仮名なんだから適当でいいじゃないか。
スナイパーにしようよ。なんでそれにこだわるの？そういうタイプじゃないでしょ彼。じゃあオリジナルのサブロは？意味わかんないよ。
Oh,
そうですね。
I don't get it either.
私も一つ考えましょう。キワクさんというのはいかがですか？
なんだ？
Milos.
さんって。
記憶忘れちゃったくんの略？
縁起でもないな。
すみません、直接的すぎました。
ナッキュ先輩はなんかないの？アイデア。そうだな。少年でいいんじゃない？
反省それじゃあ。
だったらいい少年。同じだ。アスタチーネ。
So they're naming me.
メモリーズをというのはどうでしょう
？Let me think.
匿名希望でいいよも
う。旧少年って言って
なあ、お前はどれがいいんだ？
Alright, hold on, let me pick one. All of them. Stink. Oh.
贅沢言わないの。この大不況の真っ只中に。
Well. Okay, these are not the names they said. That one name from Sora, that was okay. Does it say it here somewhere? Astanek Kumagawa, what is that? I do not know who that is. That's the only normal sounding one. Tomoya Mikami, Makoto Ishihara, Naoto Fukuyama, Shida Hayasagawa, Matoko Inamura, Ken and Nami Kiyosuke Watarase are prints. I could just pick one of these? I kind of want to go with Makoto. I like Makoto. Or Naoto. Maybe Matoki. Well, huh. Did they just come up with these names and put them here? Or are these references to something? Matoki. Yeah, sure, Matoki, why not? No?
絶対無理。
ありえないな。
賛成しかねます。
だって似合わないもの。
ああ、もうめんどいから少年でいいよ、少年で。
Just them.
いい加減にしてよ。
Tsugumi pounded the table and stood up.
どういうつもりなの？何考えてんのよ、あなたたち。
何って、名前を考えてたんだけど。
ふざけないでよ。
The room went quiet. We all looked at each other.
そうだね。
The first one to open her mouth was you.
私たち彼の気持ちも考えないでちょっと悪乗りしすぎちゃったかも。
そういう意味で言ってるんじゃないの？では小町さんはどのように呼べばいいと思われますか？
ほらね、名前考えるのって結構難しいんだよ。
もういいわ、勝手にやってれば。
Tsugumi said this in disgust and left the room.
どうしたんだあいつ。
なんであんなに怒ってるの？たけし、なんか嫌われるようなことしたんでしょ。
してねえよ。俺にはさっぱり理解不能だけど、会った時からあんな感じでさ。
少し小町さんのことは慎重に扱った方が良さそうですね。しばらく様子を見て、こちらに悪意や敵意がないことを示しながらゆっくりゆっくり打ち解けていかないと。
I felt as if something was controlling me. The next thing I knew, I found I was rushing out of the room. Down the corridor, Tsugumi was kicking water as she walked. I didn't know where she was heading. I called out to her back. Hey, wait! Tsugumi didn't stop. There was no sign that she would look back. Tsugumi! Tsugumi! When I finally caught up with her, I put my hand on her shoulder.
触らないで。触らないでくれる。
Tsugumi stopped walking and said it in a small voice. Sorry. Apologizing, I took my hand from her shoulder.
何？なんで？
I haven't even introduced myself. Somehow I couldn't look Tsugumi in the eye. Just our eyes meeting sent my heart pounding.
挨拶なんか必要ないわ。私はあなたとなんか口も聞きたくないの。
Why not? Did I do something to make you angry?
ねえ、もういい加減そういうのやめてほしいんだけど。
Of this?
とぼけないでよ、お願いだから。
I'm not pretending.
しらじらしい。私もう何もかも分かってるのよ。まさかあなたまでもが奴らの仲間だなんて思いもよらなかったけど。
Those guys? Join up?
あなたさっき記憶喪失だって言ったわよね。
Yeah.
じゃあなんで奴らのこと知ってるの？
We explained all that just a bit ago. I remember meeting you. Were you listening?
嘘つかないで。
Suddenly, Tsugumi raised her voice.
バカバカしい。とにかく私は騙されないから、もう二度と私に声をかけないで。いいわね。
With that, Tsugumi strolled away. I couldn't find the words to stop her. I stared after her, shrinking back in silence. When I returned to the conference room, in the center of the table was a three-dimensional image of LeMU. You, Sara, Sora, and Takeshi were looking at and discussing something intensely. Hey, what are you talking about?
あ、おかえり少年。つぐみは？
I shook my head.
なあ、難しい女の子だろ？
This time I nodded. Tsugumi was difficult for sure. I had no idea what she was thinking. There was no point in prying anymore into Tsugumi's situation. I asked them again. So, what were you talking about? I mean, just now.
このように な事態が発生した原因について。
それから今後の対応策、私たちは何をするべきなのか、それを話し合ってたの。
Oh, the cause of the accident and steps to take, huh? Hey, do you mind filling me in on what you came up with? You can keep it
わかり
simple.
ました。ではもう一度事故の経過についてご説明いたしましょう。
Saying that, Sora touched program image above the table. Then she said the following. 12:45 p.m., LeMU was suddenly struck by a blackout. The cause is unclear. Immediately after that, an emergency evacuation order was issued. The cause of this was unclear as well. In any case, the evacuation of LeMU by visitors and employees was initiated at this point. 12:54 p.m., the emergency doors were activated. What does that mean?
浮島と直結した脱出用の非常口のことです。非常階段の最上部に設けられています。通常、よほどのことがない限り、この扉が開かれることはないのですが。
But you're saying that it was opened?
はい。
What exactly does "except in extreme circumstances" mean?
そう言って良いものかどうか。マニュアルにはこう書かれています。緊急の場合でもお客様には一時的にインゼルヌル上の加減圧室に留まっていただく必要がある。
Why? But what if you have to escape in a hurry? Why do you have to stop in the decompression chamber?
減圧症を防ぐためです。
Decompression sickness?
急激な減圧に伴い血液
Oh no.
窒素が気化し血栓等
That's so scary.
そのことは後ほどご説明いたしますので、今はひとまず話を先に進めますよ。
Sure. I don't want that to happen to me. What you're saying is that these doors shouldn't be open, they're open. Is that it?
私の推測に過ぎませんが、おそらくパニックを起こされたお客様の誰かが混雑する加減圧室を避けて緊急機密費を手動で開いてしまったのだと思われます。そしてこの扉はその後閉鎖されることもなくずっと開放され続けていたようです。これにより約6気圧に保たれていた内部の混合ガスが急速に外部へと放出されることになりました。
Sora continued her explanation. 2:39 p.m. helium, since it was lighter than oxygen and nitrogen, was released first, and internal pressure dropped to the equivalent of the external pressure of 1 atmosphere. 3:55 p.m. water leak occurs.
もともとレミューは飽和潜水仕様の設計をもとにして建造された構造物であり、
Saturation diving specifications. What's that mean?
気圧を外部の水圧と同等化、またはそれ以上に高めることによって本体が海水に押しつぶされないようにしていたということなのですが、わかりますか？
Not really. Not really. Really. Saturation diving
空気を満たしたペットボトルに蓋をして水の中にどんどん沈めていったらどうなるでしょうか？
What would happen? The side of the bottle would dimple in,
その通
right?
りです。これはペットボトルの中の空気を水圧がぐいぐいと押したために起こる現象なのです。ではペットボトルをへこまさないようにするにはどうすればいいと思いますか？
Oh, I see.
答えは簡単です。ボトルの中にもっとたくさ
Put
んの
more
空
air
気を
in?
詰め込んであげればいいのです。
Yeah,
外
okay.
側から押す力と内側から押し戻す力が釣り合えばボトルが変形することはないでしょう。これが飽和潜水仕様の状態ということになります。少々乱暴な解説ではありますが、
I think I get it.
ところで空気をパンパンに詰め込んだこのペットボトル、水中に沈めたままの状態で上の方に穴を開けたらどうなるでしょうか？
The air will leak.
その後は
The air will escape out. Oh, and when the balance of pressure is lost, the bottle will be crushed.
そしてそれこそがこのレミューで発生した 浸水事故の主な原因なのです。内部圧が1気圧にまで減少したせいで、最も脆弱だったガラス面に亀裂が生じ、大量の海水が流れ込むという事態に。その後、被害を最小限に食い止めるべく、レミが浸水箇所の水密費を自動的に閉鎖しました。
And so we're all trapped in here.
はい。
Maybe it was because I had jumped into a complicated discussion, but somewhere in my head felt like it was tearing. But thinking back on Sora's explanation, there were two key points. One, the reason for the complex blackout was unclear. Two, the reason for the drop in air pressure caused a leak. Yeah, was that we had sprung a leak. Okay, was that we had sprung a leak. Takeshi, who had been listening quietly until now, spoke.
ええ、そうですが、何か？
それならさ、俺たちが今耳に装着してるイヤホン、音声変換器だっけ？これってもう必要ないんじゃないのか？
いえ、それは
I don't know.
それはまだつけていてください。
どうして？ヘリウムガスだってほとんど排出されちゃったんでしょ？
Only Yuke remained silent. It looked like she was awkwardly avoiding my gaze.
とにかくそれは外さないでください。
Why not? What reason is?
理由は
まあ、空がそう言うんだからそれでいいじゃない。別に装着してても全然違和感ないさ。この変換器。確かに今までつけてたのを忘れてたぐらいだからね。でしょ？
Voice alternator.
これからどうするのか。対応策を検討する方が先だと思うけど、私は。
対応策か。
What do they have a voice alternator for? After that, is that what the second voice was back there? We crossed our arms and started brainstorming, but we couldn't come up with even a single good idea. In the end,
助けを待つしかないってことね。
of course, there was no reason to expect a differing opinion. Near an hour had passed since Tsugumi had left the room. Sora had said she was going to try to think of a plan and went back to the control room. The remaining four of us didn't have anything to say or do and continued to wait for contact or help from the outside.
つぐみ、戻ってこないね。
Sara muttered this.
このまま一人にしといていいのかな。
いいってことはないだろうな。
ねえ少年、さっきさ、つぐみを追いかけていったでしょ？
Yeah.
その時、どこに行くとか言ってなかった？
Nope, she didn't mention anything.
しょうがない。探してみますか。
As if Yu's words were a sign, I stood up. For some reason, Yu made straight for the control room. Huh? Why the control room?
少年、覚えてない？さっき制御室に集まった時、ソラが言ってたでしょ？生体反応をチェックしてみたらどうたらこうたらって。
She said that?
ああ、確かに言ってたな、そんなこと。ちゃんと話聞いてたのか、少年。
I thought I was, but
で、その生体反応検出装置みたいなやつを使えばね、きっとつぐみの居所は勝ちどころに判明しちゃったりすると思うんだ。
Bioscan. It seemed like one difficult word after another was being thrown at me. I wondered if this was part of amnesia. There were so many words and phenomena and systems and stuff here that I was at a loss. Without thinking, I let out a sigh. Incidentally, there was another thing that I had not been able to understand. Somewhere along the line, everyone had taken to calling me Kid. That random decision-making process to find a consensus on my name had ended up with me being called Kid. Well, it was better than John at a contrary anyway. But still, it was all hard for you to understand. I sighed again, shaking my head, followed everyone into the control room. Sora tilted her head, looking at us quizzically as we shuffled into the room.
このままつぐみをほっとくわけにはいかないから。だから空に生体反応をチェックしてもらおうと思って。
ああ、そういうことですか。わかりました。小町さんの居所を調べればいいんですね。少々お待ちください。
A map of LeMU was displayed on the monitor. It enlarged and reduced in size, so it spun the image switched and changed in a dizzying way. Sora. Will you really know where Tsugumi is just by running a biosearch for her?
人間は高温動物ですから常に体が36度前後に発熱しているでしょ。その体温を赤外線を使って検出するのです。これによりレミュー内の人間の数もその居場所もすぐに特定することが。
That's true, though.
ほら、もうわかりました。
Yeah. See that uncertain bit of light in his white stock?
違いありません。小町さんです。
Below that, in a room of Drit stock, there were also a number of light-emitting points overlapping. I figured that was probably the control room. Huh? What is? Just then, I noticed something strange. In the corner of the monitor, life reading 7 was displayed in small numbers. Letters. Isn't there something strange about this number? C7? Wait, should I point to this corner of the monitor? Life readings 7.
どうして？
There should have been a total of 6 people trapped in LeMU. You, Sara, Sora, Tsugumi, Takeshi, and me. Yet the main computer of LeMU was indicating that there were 7 people.
これは一体。
Oh, another person. And then... Life readings 5, life readings 7, life readings 6. 576, 576. The numbers changed by the second. And always the number 6 plus or minus 1.
なぜこんなことが？
Flustered and out of character, Sora was busily operating the console. But the numbers continued to fluctuate, and there was no sign that they would stop. I shifted my eyes to the points of light on the map. Even if the life reading numbers changed, the point of light didn't increase or decrease. And that would mean that there's another person here that didn't get out in time. For a while, I watched the number switch. Finally, it stopped on the number 6. Life reading 6. Huh? It stopped on 6.
But でも結局6で落ち着いたわけだからこれが正解だろうきっと。
そうだよね。よく考えてみれば他に誰かがいるとは思えないし。
But
だって少年、私たちレミューの中をあんなに探し回ったんだよ。なのに誰にも会わなかったじゃん。
that's true, but
まあどっちにしろ館内を歩き回ってみればわかることなんじゃないかな。それよりも今は早くつぐみを捕獲しなければ。
捕獲？保護でしょ？
危険なものから対象を隔離するのが保護。危険なものそれ自体を隔離するのが捕獲だ。
つぐみってそんなに危険なの？
あ、そういやサラもユウもまだまともに話してなかったよな。あの猛獣と。
うん。
よし、それじゃあつぐみ捕獲作戦の開始だ。準備はいいかな。
We climbed the emergency stairs to the floor where Tsugumi was. Only Sora remained in the control room, thinking of ways to escape, trying to reestablish communications, rechecking the complex, and trying to get other systems that were down back online. We arrived at White Stock. And then when we did, a voice came from the speaker above the corridor. I figured Sora was using the complex intercom system to announce Tsugumi's location. Takeshi set this toward the ceiling. On the way to the office, you said...
ねえ、Kuranari、一つ提案があるんだけど。
Idea.
こういうのってさ、女の子だけの方がいいと思うんだよね。
女の子だけ？
私とマヨ、2人だけで行くってこと。 その方がつぐみも何かと話しやすいと思うし、マヨは別にいいよね。もちろん私は全然 OK ですよ。
Why can't Takeshi and I come along?
こういうのは
That's alright.
大抵男性がいるとややこしくなるもんなのよ。
Alright. That's okay with me. I'll stay behind.
警戒心を持たれちゃうっていうのもありますよね。あとは勘かな。
Intuition?
私とマヨならうまく誤解を解くことができると思うの。
誤解か。
だってそうでしょ、私たち何にも怒らせるようなことしてないんだから。
That's true. It might be better to just let the two girls go instead of going in a group. For some reason, I didn't have any confidence in my ability to get Tsugumi to open up to us, and I was sure that type of thing wasn't one of Takeshi's strong points either.
じゃあお任せすることにしますか。
So with that, you and Sara headed to the security office. Takeshi and I were left in the middle of the corridor, at a loss of what to do.
さてと、どうしようか。
What do you say?
警備
Let's
室の
just
前で
sit here for a little bit. I don't mind. I don't think that would accomplish
じゃあ
anything.
どうするよ。
I don't know.
ここはひとまず館内の見回りかな。
I've had enough of that.
俺はまだやってない。
You, Sara, and I walked so much that we just about wore holes in our shoes. So I stock and drift stock,
そん
everything.
なこと言うんなら一緒にメリーゴーランドでも乗るか。
I don't know. Two guys on the merry-go-round sounds kinda.
だろ俺はレミューの中を一通りチェックしてみることにするよ。自分の目で確かめないと納得できないたちだからさ。
So Takeshi and I split up to search. We agreed to meet up at 9:30 p.m. We were to meet in front of the security office.
レミューは水面下に3つの層を持っています。
Huh.
エルストボーデ、ツバイトシュトック、ドリットシュトック。各フロアの間隔は17メートルです。フロアを1つ降りれば17メートル深くなります。したがって3階、ドリットシュトックは水深51メートルの位置に沈んでいることになりますね。
With all of this time on my hands, I visited Sora in the control room. Sora politely and in an easy way to understand way explained to me about LeMU, which I knew almost nothing.
ドリットの外には約5気圧の水圧プラス大気圧1気圧で合計約6気圧の海水が満ちていることになります。仮にドリットから突然海中に出てしまった場合、肺が6分の1に押しつぶされるか、または肺溶石の6分の5の海水が肺に流れ込んで、おそらくは数分以内に絶命するでしょう。
Can I ask a question?
どうぞ。
How much pressure exactly is 5 atmospheres of water pressure? I would
1
imagine.
平方センチメートルあたり1キログラムの重さがかかっていることを言います。
It's hard to imagine.
レミューの内部の
Yikes.
気圧は5気圧ですから、その5倍、1平方センチメートルあたり5キログラムの力が加わっていると考えてください。
5 kilograms of weight per square inch. So for each meter, it would be 100 times 100, or 50 tons?
正解です。
Oh, but what about those people that skin dive? They can dive to depths of about 90  feet,
フリーダ
right?
イビングの現在の世界記録は150メートルです。アクアラングをつけてそれなりの手順を踏めば、おそらく35メートルぐらいなら誰でも潜れるでしょう。しかしその場合、肺に送り込むエアは高圧のガスを用います。素潜りの場合は息を止めて潜るわけですが、素人だったら20メートルが限界ですね。それ以上になるとかなりの熟練が必要になります。
Wow, is that right?
それから大事なことがもう一つ。仮に水圧に耐えることができたとして、少年さん、あなたは51メートルも上にある海面まで泳ぎ切ることができるでしょうか。
51 meters? How high is that? 51 meters?
15階建てのビルを想像してみてください。あるいは3階建ての校舎を5個積み重ねたものでも良いかもしれません。
5 schools stacked? No way, I couldn't swim in that.
トストックがこの位置にあります。
34 meters, huh? Even that would be impossible. I think even that would be impossible.
正しい判断だと思います。
So basically what you're trying to say is that we can't escape by swimming, right, Sora? I guess in the end, all we can do is wait for help to arrive.
そういうことになります。
As I was so involved in my chat with Sora, I had missed the appointed meeting time. I left the control room and headed toward the meeting point in front of the security office, but Takeshi wasn't there. Hey, Takeshi! I tried to call out to him, but there was no reply. Glancing at the security office, I noticed that the door was wide open. I decided to take a peek in the room. No one was there. Not you, Sara, nor Tsugumi. Hey, Sora! Sora! Everybody, where are you? I looked up at the bare ceiling and called out. I figured Sora would be in the control room monitoring me, but apparently she wasn't. There were no sounds from the speakers on the ceiling. I wonder what I should do. I thought as I wandered walking through the corridors. First, to the merry-go-round, to the jellyfish gondola, to the warehouse, to the control room. Alright, can I save right on this choice? Yeah. That's good, I'll stop there. Great. Bye.